To hot topics now, and I think we can all agree 2024 was such a tough year for business. Well, news this morning has unfortunately made it even more grim, with new forecasts by the Coalition showing that we are on track to lose more than 10,000 businesses between December and June, this coming June this year. Economists say we're even at risk of eventually losing our AAA credit rating and warn that neither Anthony Albanese nor Peter Dutton have a credible plan to address our economic challenges. On that bright note, let's bring in Seven Aviation Editor Blake Johnson and journalist Deb Clay. Morning to both of you. Blake, let's start with you in Melbourne. It has been so tough for retailers across the country. Anecdotally, speaking to friends who've been in business for years, say this has been the worst Christmas they've ever had. It's tough out there, isn't it?
It is, and particularly, you mentioned retail. I know hospitality's struggled. In Melbourne, we've seen the closure of quite a few restaurants. But it's a tale of two sides of the coin. Some places are going particularly well. Others have fallen by the wayside. I do think there's a bit of a disconnect, though, between some politicians saying we're in for a soft landing and the economy's going all right. When you look at, the grocery bills are still exorbitantly high. Car insurance, for example, going up, 20, 30%. And paying $18 for a pint is now almost the norm and not the outside. So I think we've got a fair way to go before we find some level of comfort here. Yeah,
it's like we're just sort of getting used to the fact that, we just pay more in this country, like that whole passport debate we've been having over the last couple of days. Australia has the most expensive passports in the world. Well, why? And Deb, for these small businesses, it's not just, running the business, but we're talking about insurance, rent, loans, everything, and it all adds up, and it's meaning disaster for many.
Yeah, and in 2024, small businesses, they were brought to their knees. This analysis released by the Coalition assumes that business insolvencies will continue along the same trajectory as since July of last year. Labor says that these figures are misleading. Eddie, I work with a lot of business leaders, a lot of board directors, and what I find too much of the time is that people haven't planned for the worst case scenario. Why haven't they done this? Well, it's for a number of reasons. Because it's confronting, it takes a lot of time, and also once you start digging around, it can have implications for the individuals involved. But people shouldn't worry about this. They should be worrying about small businesses who are the backbone of our economy, along with the construction industry. And when Jim Chalmers pleads with us to be optimistic when he says that there are brighter times ahead, I sincerely hope
we all hope
his
he's
words
right.
are true, because they have real implications, those words.
And what's interesting is that the Coalition has released these figures, but the economists are saying, well, neither side of politics has a plan. Moving on, Japan has issued a plea to Aussie tourists after a visitor boom in 2024, asking us to travel beyond the popular tourist hotspots as they really struggle to keep up with the most in-demand areas. Now, Deb, you just came back from Japan. This is your fault. You did this.
I am part of the problem. I'm willing to admit that. We did a combination. So we went out to the rural areas. We went and had that authentic experience. We saw the temples. We went to a bamboo forest, and that was absolutely awe-inspiring. And when you make the effort and go to those rural areas, you don't see many Western faces. It's the Japanese, so you get that extra sense of that special experience. Then we did a lot of the tourist experiences as well. The bullet train, that has been in operation for 60 years. It gives you an insight into the innovation. We saw sumo wrestlers in a stable. There were so many incredible things, as well as the traditional Japanese tea ceremony, where you learn about that culture of respect and
that's what you want, isn't it? That immersion of culture. Blake, what are your thoughts? You've loved Japan to death here.
I love Japan. I was lucky enough to go for the Olympics and Paralympics in 2021. That was during the middle of COVID, unfortunately. So the Japanese government limited our travel to within the Tokyo prefecture, but we did 6 weeks there. Can't wait to go back. And as Deb mentioned, the bullet trains, Japan's such a magnificent country to get around in and so easy. There really is no reason why you wouldn't venture outside the big cities and see some of the paths less travelled in that amazing country.
Yeah, and they're very welcoming, the Japanese. They're not saying don't come, but if you come, maybe just spread yourselves out to the regions and spread the love a little bit. Finally, US rapper Spice has been booed off stage at a Brisbane music festival after showing up 25 minutes late to what was supposed to be a 30-minute set. So she ended up only playing for 5 minutes due to curfew restrictions, with many fans outraged after paying hundreds of dollars just to see her perform. Blake, what do you reckon? Should they get their money back?
Probably. She was a headliner. Like, what's the point of her even rocking up? I mean, she's got hair and makeup. Vocal warm-ups take probably more than 5 minutes. To be on stage for that level of time is a huge waste of her time and the crowd's time. Do you remember 8 years ago, Madonna was 3 hours late to a concert in Brisbane?
Yes.
And that didn't go down well. I think she was booed off stage in Brisbane, so the crowd used its voice to voice their disapproval.
It's a tricky one because she was late, but then also the organisers were counting down to midnight, so they have a sort of schedule to meet.
Quite
so
the
they
deadline,
kind of
isn't it?
Booted her off. Deb, what should happen here? Should fans be compensated when this happens?
Oh, I mean, it's terrible on all fronts, and I kind of feel a little bit sorry for the organisers who headlined Spice, and then, she showed up so late. 5 minutes is just not good enough. I think she should take a leaf out of Taylor's book, who is just an absolute master when it comes to live performance and touring. When you see Taylor in action from a vocal and a physical perspective, that is stamina in action. I've got some advice for Spice. It's not about the music genre, it's all about the hard work.
Yeah, the professionalism. I went to an Elton John concert that started at 7:30, finished at 9. That, to me, feels very perfect and professional.
Night out.
Blake and Deb, thank you so much for that. Here's
Thanks.
David.